Good morning. I think it's still morning here. Decided to bring you another episode of our engineering, manufacturing, educator exchange, the Educator's Toolbox. I am here in Ohio actually for work, working at the SAE Baja event that is typically for four-year schools. And I think, my episode this week is around how do we get community colleges and CTE programs into this competition? Because I think the competition really builds on top of the things that we really want to get students to know and do and understand as they progress through the programs. And those real world application and skills and ability to work as a team, to fail as a team, to have conflict, to go through that resolution of that conflict at the same time. So in the background, you can see a lot of teams are coming in. They're getting ready to set up this morning. We're actually, they're watering down the track for later. So this is the Baja event, which is an off-road event. So they design the entire Baja vehicle. They utilize then their engineering applications to create that car. A lot of times it's carried over from the previous year, and they're just updating different things about that car year to year. But they work on drivetrain, they work on the brakes. There's a weight limit. There's all kinds of other different things that have to happen in that. So I know some of the restrictions, some of the things with community colleges, they're all commuter campuses. Majority of them are. So how do we allow students at those community colleges to be involved in these types of programs, or to at least do competition in general? And I think that's the hard thing to answer. When I was a chair, one of the big things that we had was being able um, to allow students to participate, but we also knew the restrictions. One was cost. My program didn't have a lot of money in funding, but we had a little bit. But we also had students. They weren't they were there for class, started class. They were leaving shortly after class. They're not hanging around like they would at a four-year school, or they're not on campus because of the dorm or apartments nearby. Some of my students were traveling, an hour to get to class one day a week. So how do we do that? How do we get them to competition? I think there's several things. I think there's, Skills USA has always been a consistent one. They're changing how they do things, getting more involved with that. Project manufacturing has done a great job of bringing in the team competition side of things and allowing that to be more advanced in terms of the projects and the things that are going on, and really reshaping that. And I think these Baja events, these SAE events, there's another category called Formula. And I think within that, we have some opportunity to maybe not run a full series or a full team, but being able to bring chunks of it in. And maybe one semester, through if it's an associate's degree and every semester is a different part of the car, is that it's included within the course itself, that you're creating different parts of the car. We're working with different programs like the welding program to help with the frame. We're working with the design and engineering area to create some of the brake systems and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of it can be off-the-shelf parts that we can start with, and then we're using the manufacturing program to help modify or update or change some of those designs. So I think if we think about it creatively, we can get it utilized, get it inside of our programs and courses, and allow those students to have that experience. Now, some people I think will say, well, I got to get this done, I got to get this objective done. But I think if we're really asking ourselves, what do we want to teach the students? We need to teach them the skills and abilities and the workplace skills that we're constantly asking for, our industry's asking us for. And I know many times when I talk to the industry in an hour conversation, 45 minutes of it is, can they show up on time? Can they work as a team? Can they pass a drug test? Are they good? Are they a good person? Do they think critically? Can they find information on their own? Well, how are we teaching that? And I think through teams and through competition, we can teach those things. And I also think they don't have to be successful. I know that's maybe a little odd to hear, but I think the great things that we can learn out of these competitions is when we're not successful, when we figure out how things are not working and not going correctly. We learn the best. And I think it's getting away from the thinking of, well, we've got to grade them to them being successful, when we can really grade them on what did they learn, what kind of things did they acquire once they got done. That's the real success, right? That's really what we want to get down to in the nitty gritty. So, thinking about pass fail type of things, but really thinking about the outcome of the competition itself. And I think there's some other ideas that we've talked to other schools about, is creating its own internal competition within the program itself. Maybe it's a machining competition, maybe it's a drawing competition, maybe it's making something small that we're racing, that we're launching, but it's an internal competition. But I do think the team aspect of that, and having that team ability to have failure, to have conflict, to learn how to deal with that, is so important. And again, I think having that failure, when a team has conflict and there's issues coming up, and one team member's not pulling their weight, is that we don't downgrade their grade because of those things. We actually uplift them. We share, like, how did you overcome that? How did you deal with that? What are some things that we can teach the others, and have those real conversations of, well, how did we overcome those things? And that's the win in my eyes. So, about to get a little loud here with the trucks coming by to water everything. We're getting rained on. It's getting muddy. Talking to a lot of students, doing some really cool things. So, really excited. This one's going to be short just because I'm here for the weekend doing some things. But I appreciate you showing up for this. But I am curious down in the comments, what are you thinking about doing as a competition? How are you going to get these workplace skills and these things that can come out of competition? How are you going to get them into your students' hands and get them to leverage that? So, leave me a comment. I'm really curious to see what competitions you're doing. I'm really curious to hear how you're getting workforce skills into those students, and getting them to experience that, especially those ones, they're coming out of high school, or they're coming out of a different type of industry, and trying to really understand what it means to be a team player in manufacturing engineering. So, again, live here from, well, that's recorded, so I guess it's not live, but from Newark, Ohio, in the Baja SAE event. We've got some of the paddock there. So, yeah, have a great one. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all next week.